O'clock, we'll call the meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk Cody, would you do a roll call, please?
Supervisor Melky.
Here.
Treasurer Rogers.
Here.
Trustee Lannon.
Here.
Trustee Lay.
Here.
Trustee Thering.
Here.
And Clerk Cody here.
All counted and present for. We're all present and accounted for. It's been a long year. So we have agenda in front of us, as I mentioned just prior to the meeting. It was raised to my attention, concern about weather, more so for those that have long drives here, not necessarily board members. I don't know what the feelings are of this board, but if we feel like we might need to adjourn early, we should rearrange the agenda so that time-sensitive stuff is at the front, so that we can deal with the stuff that has to be dealt with now versus stuff that can be delayed until January. I don't know where this board's at.
That makes sense.
I'm amenable. If that's
Meaning
what
did-
we need to do, we need to.
Do board members feel that there's that need?
Yes.
I think we have a good order though on the agenda, right?
Except there are two items. If we were to try to shorten it and or adjourn early without new business being complete, the two items that are most time sensitive would be the Board of Trustees meeting schedule. We need to adopt that before the end of the year. The second being the, I'm looking at my notes here, the collective bargaining agreements. Those are the two things that are most time sensitive.
The other option, as opposed to amending the agenda, is if you get to an item and you're watching the clock. you
Table
table
it.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve the agenda as presented by Clerk Cody, support by Treasurer Rogers. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the agenda as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Agenda passes unanimously. That brings us to presentations, and we have one this evening.
And I will
Colleen-
try and be quick. And I'm a fast talker, so I'll get you there. Thank you all for having us. My name is Colleen Coogan. I'm from the Woodhill Group. I am here as your interim finance director. I'm very, very pleased to be here. And I have a little presentation. We, as part of our contract to the governing bodies, so we operate as a fiduciary to townships and to municipalities. And so we report to the board, right? Our responsibility is to the board. Our direct report is to your manager, but our responsibility is to the board and the township residents. And so we always do something called a health check after we've been here a little while and kind of give you a sense of what we found. So I'm very pleased to tell you that your financial standing is in excellent condition, your books are in excellent condition, and your staff is excellent. They are open to change, they are very helpful. We found the skill set here to be exactly what you need, and we're very, very pleased to report this to you. As a result of everything being in such good condition, we've been able to shift some of our focus from, usually when we're walking in, we are cleaning up a shoebox full of paperwork and trying to get things in order. And that is our experience. So this is actually quite unusual for us, right? And the manager did say that he knew the books were good, and that's why, you know, the previous person was here. But one of the things we can bring to the table, so we were able to shift, is that we work with efficiencies. We are power users of this software system, and so we really try and make sure that the staff and everybody can utilize the tools in the system. It's a more efficient use of taxpayer dollars than to have staff doing things. The other thing that we focus on is we are high-end finance people as well as controllers, and so we can help with strategic planning. So we've done some of that. And one of the reasons we are actually here, we were at capacity when we were contacted by your manager, and I originally thought we wouldn't be able to take you on, but we were so aligned with the thought process of staff development. That is really one of our focuses, is to bring staff up, in-house staff, and teach them as much as we can. And so we were very aligned with the philosophy of your team. And so that was one of the reasons we made some room in our calendar to be here. And so the other thing we've been focusing on, of course, is just maintaining the finance director activities. So those have been our 4 focuses, because really we didn't have to worry about doing a deficit reduction plan for you to the state of Michigan. We didn't have to worry about doing 12 months of bank recs, right? Everything here is in very good condition. So our job has been to just make it better. So I'll just talk a few minutes about, what, do I need to point at you? I need to, sorry, I need to point at you. I was pointing at there. So here's some of the efficiencies, and I'm sorry, do you mind if I get out and walk? So one of the things, as I mentioned, we've been really talking about the enhanced use of the financial software. So we've really focused on cash management. We've found a lot of ways to streamline, simplify the cash accounting, the cash management of the receivables, the record keeping, the payables, how we reconcile it, and we think we've found some significant hours of saving for your staff. In addition, the way the reports are gonna come out is gonna be much more user friendly for your manager and your treasurer to say, okay, we know exactly how much idle cash we have to invest. So that's been a huge focus. We've also touched briefly with the treasurer on how to import assessing to tax changes in a much simpler manner. We've worked on some payable processes where instead of manually data entering, you can import some payables into the system. And we've started to incorporate some of the other staff into that, so that we have more than just one person who knows how to do something. So again, this is this enhanced use of your software. You have a very powerful financial suite of software. And so we want to be able to use all the bells and whistles we can there, right? And we've only just started that. We've also started streamlining and standardizing some of the accounting processes. So this is even in addition to expanding the use of the software. We've simplified the tax disbursement. We've identified some questions with the payroll time cards. We've helped with budget preparation documents. We've simplified some of those, simplified some of the special assessment calculations. So all of the things that we're generating here are not that your books are now more correct. Your books were correct. What we're doing is just moving the information through faster and using your staff time more efficiently. From a strategic planning perspective, because we're here, right, we do take a look at your finance department, your operations, your workflow, and kind of figure out, okay, what is the best size for your entity? And we have been in communications with your manager about that. Like, who do you need here, right? Is the work all running across the right desk? Is there a different way to redesign this? And then for long-range planning, we have started looking at some of your capital needs. So we've been in communication with some of your department heads. Then as far as the finance director and staff development, you know, we've done your typical finance director budget, begin some audit prep, but we've really focused on a lot of staff development. One of the things that we're really trying to do for the staff as well is give them more access into the software program and kind of explain, like, it gets a little difficult if all you're doing is a data entry piece and you don't really understand how you fit into the big picture. So one of our focuses, as we mentioned, is staff development. And one of the ways you develop staff is you make sure that they understand what the big picture is. Now, of course, we're talking about from the finance and accounting perspective. But we want to know what is the big picture? Where is their value in that system for us? And we want to make sure they understand how important they are and how this big picture works and where they are in the context of that. And so we've been working with all the staff that you have, and we're very pleased with the responses we've been getting. Change is hard for people, even if it's change that makes their life a little easier, it's still hard, and your staff has been very open, and so we really thank actually the manager for that, for setting the tone, right? So that everybody's open to just trying it on. And so that is the extent of my health check, because everything is going very well. We're very, very pleased, and we're so happy to be here. So the city manager has allowed me, are there any questions before I delve into just another little quick area? Okay. I know, I really wish you could all just be accounting geeks and be super excited like I am, but you know. Let me tell you, it's all been fun. So we're just gonna talk a little bit briefly about some 101 stuff and some newly elected official training presentations that we make. Some of this might be old hat to some of you, but if you could bear with me. So I want to talk about your population is 12,043. The average tax that each person pays to the township, now this doesn't include the DDA, right? But for the fire and the operating millage is $122.95. So that is what your people are paying in order for all the services that this township is providing. It's actually quite a good deal. And then where we receive that $122 is over here. So it's hard, right? Because nobody's looking at the same thing. But so we have real parcels. Real parcels are parcels that are the floor. You're saying, I mean, it's the building, it's the dirt. It's not personal. This desk, this is considered personal property. Personal property, you know, you can throw it away after a while, or it's a machine. So you have 2,952 real parcels in your township. Of those, 2,518 are households. I'm not doing very well with this chart. It seems to disappear.
Yeah, reflects,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so if you're going in the far right, you have 2,952 real parcels, so that's either land or buildings. And then if you move down into the bottom line in the middle, of those 2,900, 2,500 are households. So you are servicing 2,500 households. The average income of your households is $63,244, of which they give you $123 in order to get their services. So now I want to talk about funds. So that's kind of your makeup of who you are, right, and where we're getting our money. So I'd like to explain what exactly is a fund, because fund is a governmental word that's kind of bandied about. We want to transfer funds, here's a fund, what's the fund balance? You know, it can get a little complicated. But when you think about a fund, I want you to just think about, it's almost like every fund is its own company. We use the term fund just as a method of collecting activity. And so if you have a fire fund, we've collected all the fire activity into this company. So when you think of fund, just think of each fund operates like its own business. So then we wonder, how many funds should there be? There is no right number of funds. It all depends on the activities and on management. So for instance, from a management perspective, in your township, we have opened a new fund. We call it an internal service fund. We have opened a fund for an investment fund where we are recording all of the cash, available money, so that it's easy to see in one spot. But that's a management decision. The only fund you are absolutely required to have in a municipality is the general fund. That's it. The rest of the funds are driven by what are your activities and what is your decision. For instance, you do have a water and sewer fund. You are required to have a water and sewer fund because of those activities. If you didn't have those activities, you wouldn't have a water and sewer fund. So the answer is, when you look at all these other municipalities, they might have a police fund, you don't. You have a fire fund, they might not. It varies wherever you go. So there's no right answer. It just has to work for you. Okay. So these are your funds. These are your primary funds. Right Are you touching it?
No, it's changing on my screen, it's just not changing up there, I think it's delayed.
You can do it.
So I should just wait?
Yeah, give it a second.
Okay. Okay. So these are your primary funds. We have a few other funds that we're not talking about here, but these are your primary activity and budgeting funds. We have a tax fund that we collect tax money in and we disperse it out, but it really doesn't impact your activities. So this is your primary township budget, and as I mentioned, everybody has a general fund, and you have a general fund. The most important thing about the general fund to understand is the general fund is the only fund that you have complete discretion to use that money in any legitimate way. The general fund can shore up any other fund. It can shore up the water fund if it needs to. It can shore up the sewer fund. It is at the discretion of this board. So if it's a legitimate governmental use, this board can spend the general fund money on it. Which is why, whenever we budget, whenever we plan things, at all costs, we try and protect the general fund. Because the general fund is the backstop for every other fund that you have, every other activity. So when the state is looking at the health of entities, they're looking at the general fund. You also have some special revenue funds, which is that group down there to the left. So special revenue funds means that these have dedicated revenue sources outside of the general fund. You have a fire fund that's financed by a millage. You have a tribal grant fund where you receive money from the tribe, and you have a special assessment fund. Special assessment fund are assessments that are billed on the tax bill. So those are your three funds that we call them special revenue. They've got a dedicated revenue stream, and they're for a specific activity. Then you have two business type funds. They're water and sewer. There are, a lot of places have a golf course, some places have a cemetery, and if they're run as a business type fund, it means that their user fees are supposed to pay the cost of those operations. The same way if they sell a widget, right? The sale price of the widget has to cover the cost of the widget. That is how business funds work. They work completely different than every other fund. Then you also have two component unit funds. So a component unit is an arm. It's still considered part of the primary township governance, but it's an arm. You've appointed another operating body to oversee those component units for you. So that's your makeup. That's your visual makeup of what we're managing here. What I want to talk about for the business or enterprise funds is that they're accounted for the same way as in the private sector, which is dramatically different than everything else. So when you look at the reports of the water and sewer fund and you look at fund balance, that fund balance means something completely different than every other fund. Every other fund, the fund balance is somewhat close to cash, plus or minus some payables, a little bit of receivables, but it's pretty close to cash, pretty close to what you have available to spend. That is not true in water and sewer. In water and sewer, that is the worth of the system. The fund balance includes the value of the assets as well. So when you look at the $14 million at the water, that is not what you have to spend on water. What you have to spend on water is something called the unrestricted fund balance. Sometimes that shows up in your BS&A reports, sometimes it doesn't. So whenever you're looking at the fund balance of water and sewer, just make sure that you understand, what am I looking at here? Is this the total, or is this my unrestricted portion? That is about equivalent to the rest of the funds. Does that make sense? Because of course, government's just, complicated. So then let's just talk about property tax revenue. So property tax revenue is about 19% of your general fund revenue, and it comes from personal property and real property. And what I wanted to show you here is that how property taxes work is that the tax value is loosely tied to the state equalized value. The tax value and the state equalized value start at the same place when you sell your property or when somebody buys their property. And after that, they break off, because the state equalized value is tied to the market. It's tied to the assessed value in the market. But the tax value can only go up the percentage that the state of Michigan says it can go up. So it can only go up like 3.1% this year. So what happens though, is that if the market goes down and that SCV comes crashing into the tax value, it pulls the tax value down, and then the tax value is permanently set down there, and now it can only go up the percentage again of inflation, which means we've artificially crashed, which is what happened to us in what, 2008?
Yeah.
So there's a benchmark up here now that the state looks at. It's a stress benchmark level, and it says if your tax value to your state equalized value ratio is 90%, you are at risk of a market loss, because your tax value and your SCV are too close. If the market goes down just a small amount, your tax value can crash. But you're doing okay because your ratio is 75%. Our average around the state right now is between 60 and 79, 80%. But 90% would be a problem. So we're doing great here. So if we look at benchmarks financially, this puts us in a good position if we have a little bit of a market downturn in our home values. So now let's talk about property tax revenue recognition, because the recognition for a 12/31 year end is very complicated. So your assessor is out sending everybody their notices and figuring out what's the value of their house. So they did that in 2024. So as of December 31st, 2024, they said, we think this house is worth $100,000. They sent the assessment notices out in January of 25. Everybody has a chance to appeal those. Whatever those properties end up after they're appealing, that's what we're billing in December 1 of 2025. So that's what your treasurer just mailed out. We're December 31st, 2024 values. But because of our year end, we don't actually recognize that December 1, 2025 revenue until 2026. So now think about this. Not only are we restricted by the state by how much that tax value can go up, it can only go up the inflation factor, we are now 2 years behind the value of the home. We're spending in 26 money based on 24 values. Do we get the sense of we're in very much a lose-lose situation here? The fact that we ever have a balanced budget is amazing. So governments are under constant stress. Governments with a December 31st year end are under even more stress because our tax revenue is from 2 years old. Does that make sense? Okay. It's stressful. Managing government finances is hard. Okay, so let's talk about state revenue sharing. I'm leaving property tax, and I know I'm going fast. So what is revenue sharing? The state, actually, in its goodness, has 6 types of revenue sharing. That it collects money and it will share some of it with us. You receive 4 of those. You receive sales tax, you receive a portion of their Metro Act tax, you receive a portion of the local community stabilization fund, and this year for 2026 they have a new public safety. And so of the public safety you're going to receive about $40,000. So the sales tax is broken into 2 pieces. We have a constitutional share that's based on a 4% sales tax. They can never take that away from us. It's constitutionally set up how that whole thing is transferred to all of us. Then, but the sales tax is actually 6%, right? So that remaining 2%, sometimes we get some, sometimes we don't. They are not constitutionally required to send that to us. And so every year during their budget cycle, they decide if, when, and how much of that 2% that they might want to send to us. And that is called the statutory portion, because when the state passes their budget, it's called a budget statute. This year, you are projected to receive $78,000 of the statutory piece. Then we have a Metro Act. So the Metro Act comes from, the state took away the local unit's right to manage people who, these phone-to-phone cell tower lines. And so the state said, no, we're gonna allow the right-of-ways, and we're gonna collect the money, and then they share some of that back down to you. So we expect to get about $14,000 for that. Of that $14,000, we're supposed to use most of it on right-of-way projects. Then we have the Local Community Stabilization Fund, which is, in 2014, they eliminated personal property tax on certain pieces of manufacturing equipment, or if the personal property was low. And so they collect use tax, and they share a portion of that use tax with us to try and make up for our lost revenue from the personal property tax. And it does not completely make up for the lost revenue, but at least it's something. Between your general and fire millage, you're expected to get about $35,000 on that. So those are the revenue sharings, and that's a big portion of your budget, right? That revenue sharing money really helps. So, any questions? I know we're all in a hurry, so I appreciate the attention. So let's just move pretty quickly through budget. The origin of the word budget is bolga. It's a little pouch or knapsack where money and documents were kept in Old English times. And so that has kind of migrated its way to now we call it the budget, right? It's the purpose of it was to control the money. The budget is a management tool, not an accounting tool. When we pass the budget, we have a lot of legal compliance issues in order to get the budget passed. All of your budget met all of our legal compliance issues. We have something called the Uniform Budgeting and Accounting Act. We have to have an annual budget. You can't skip a year. We are legally required to have a General Appropriations Act. So a part of the budget says, you want to budget this, you need to appropriate or save that money, reserve that money for that thing that you want to spend. And we have to show you certain things. We have to tell you the property tax levy. We have to conform to the Michigan Uniform Chart of Accounts. We are legally required to give you 3 years of information and a fund balance projection. Our budget must be balanced. What is a balanced budget? A balanced budget actually means that you have fund balance. So your revenues can be less than your expenditures as long as your revenues plus your fund balance don't exceed your expenditures. So that's a balanced budget. The budget has to be in place before you can spend any money. So you have to have it adopted before the end of the year when we start spending money in January. We also, it requires external audits. We'll move through this. So very quickly, there's two types of budgets. One is an operating budget, the other is a capital budget. A lot of times in municipal government, we mesh them together, but they are very distinct. In an operating budget, you really should not be using reserves to cover your operations. So your revenues, your normal revenues shouldn't exceed your normal expenditures. Those are operations. And that operations would include like minor capital. Where we would use reserves is for one-time large expenditures, big capital, right? So it's a planned use of reserves. A structurally balanced budget says that your recurring revenues, the revenues we always expect to get, are greater than your recurring expenditures, the expenditures we always expect to have. So that makes sense, right? Because if you have more revenues than you do expenditures, normal operations, you would be able to put a little aside at the bottom line for the next year when you want to buy a truck, right? Okay. So that's the balanced budget, and just, we're almost done here. Capital improvement plans. Capital improvement plans are just a nice set of ideas unless they're tied to a funding mechanism, and that is the piece that we're working on with your manager and your department heads. They just don't mean anything unless we know how we're gonna fund it. And for water and sewer, quite often, we know the funding for 25 years, what we're gonna end up doing. Capital purchasing, the state statutes requiring public bids on municipal contracts was repealed. And it is now to the local unit, how you want to handle your bid process. And I think the next one is just some budget terms, and you will receive a copy of this presentation, and so, read this at your leisure with a glass of wine. All right, thank you all for your attention, I really appreciate it. The long and the short of it is, we're in great shape, we are having a great time here, and we're very glad to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Colleen.
Thank you.
It's
Drive
been a
safe.
It's been a pleasure working with you.
Yes, thank you, I will drive safe. And my colleague is taking over from me after today, so, Mark will introduce her later, and you can turn
just
this
leave that
off.
right up,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay. All right, thanks for your help, Hannah.
Thank you.
See ya.
Safe travels.
Thanks.
Merry
Thank you.
Christmas.
Thanks so much,
Thank you.
everybody. Really appreciate your attention.
Let's see, that takes us to public comment, which is restricted to 3 minutes regarding items on this agenda. If you choose to address the public, please state your name and address for the record. And with that, we'll open up a public comment at 7:30 p.m. Anybody connected remotely?
I do have someone, but I don't see anyone raising their hand.
We'll give them just a moment. Seeing no one coming forward in person, and still no one raising a hand remotely, we will close public comment at 7:31 p.m. That takes us to report boards and comments. This is actually I think, a fairly full part of our agenda tonight. For current lists of boards and commissions, as we've previously talked about, we have some appointments to possibly be made before the end of the year. We've received some applications. I just kind of want to review the holistic picture of this. Going through the various boards, just a note on the Planning Commission. As designed with the Planning Commission schedule, it's a three-year rotation. 3 members each year, essentially, or 3 seats, I should say, each year are up. And those 3 seats coming up are to be filled or will become empty on February 15th. So just a note. ZBA, in our packet, we have 3 applications. We currently have 3 openings per my count. The Construction Board of Appeals, there are 3 seats opening up at the end of the year. We have 3 applications. The Chippewa River District Library, there's currently 1 seat open. We have 1 application in the packet. The EDA has had a seat open for a period of time now, but we do have another one that will be opening up in March, end of March. Just a note on the Mid-Michigan Cable Consortium. Director Smith has been appointed that for some time. We do have the option of appointing a second seat. If there's desire to determine whether that's being needed or not, we can have that conversation at a later date. And then, of course, you all know the Board of Trustees, but we'll get to that at the end of the appointment stuff. So if anybody's inclined, we do have some applications. We do have some deadlines and empty seats, or seats opening up at least. I'm happy to hear any motions if you have them.
I'd like to make a motion to accept Andy Tyson for Construction Board of Appeals,
Term
Or-
ending
term
12/31/27.
12/31/27.
We have a motion by Theron. Do you accept
I support
the
that with
amended
the date.
motion? Okay. Support by Lannon. Discussion? I'm just
Andy's
always,
in the world of construction. I know Andy, known him a long time. He's been on the board for many, many years and has served us well.
I'm just pleased he wants to come back and keep going.
100%, and I'm grateful for his willingness to do so as well. Anything else? We have a motion to appoint Andy Tyson to the Construction Board of Appeals. I'm not going to repeat the date because I don't have it.
12/31/27.
Well, yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion to appoint Mr. Tyson, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Trustee Therian, for that one.
I move to appoint William Gallagher to the Construction Board of Appeals with the term ending 12/31/27.
Support.
Motion by Rogers, support by Cody. Discussion, comments? I'll reiterate what was said with Mr. Tyson is he re-upped, and I'm grateful for that. I've known Bill through church, architect, so he's a little bit different perspective in construction than Mr. Tyson, which is nice to have on a board like this. Luckily, our Construction Board of Appeals, when was the last time they met? We don't know.
Many years ago.
Many years ago. So that's a good thing, I suppose, for the township. Any other comments? All in favor of appointing Mr. Gallagher to the Construction Board of Appeals, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously.
I'd make a motion to appoint Joseph Schaefer to the Construction Board of Appeals
I'll support.
for a 2-year appointment ending 12/31/2027.
Now I'll support.
So we have a motion by Lannon and early and on-time support by Trustee Lay. Comments?
I'd mentioned I've known Joe Schaefer for many, many, many years. Actually ran into him when I was doing some campaigning over in his neighborhood this year. And he had mentioned, I'm on the board, but we've never met. And he's been on it for a number of years as well. And appreciate him offering to submit for that position again.
So low demand, but grateful that they're there for us in
If
case the
needed.
need is there. Yes. Any other comments, questions, or anything? All in favor of appointing Mr. Schaefer to the Construction Board of Appeals, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously.
I move to appoint Mackenzie Guza to the Library Board with the term ending, I don't know, I have it in front of me, 27? 29. 12/31/29. Thank you.
Support.
Motion by Rogers, support by Cody. Any comments? Anything?
So the expiring board member had no interest in renewing the current.
He did not. I think he was at a point in life where he's time to do something else. Lynn served many years, he's done many presentations before this board.
Yes.
Always grateful. I did have an opportunity, did I answer your question?
Yep.
I did have an opportunity to talk to Mackenzie. This was back, I don't know, 6 to 8 weeks ago. Personality seemed amazing. She was excited. She just had a lot of energy. It seemed like to give to this. Her passion, certainly, if you've looked at her resume, is a great fit for this board. So I'm grateful that she was willing to apply for this.
Without doubt, yeah.
Yeah, she's got an impressive resume.
Any other comments? Do we know the proper pronunciation of her last name? Is it Guz? I didn't know if you did. Okay. Mackenzie. We'll go with. All in favor of the motion to appoint Mackenzie to the Chippewa River District Library Board, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously.
I move to approve Richard Barr's reappointment to the ZBA, term ending 12/31/28.
Support.
Motion by Rogers, support by Cody. Discussion. ZBA does not meet often. I think they went almost 2 years without a meeting. They had a meeting a month ago,
Roughly.
thereabouts. Rick was appointed chair, at least for 2025.
So they're a lot like the other board.
Yes. I did have conversations with Rick about this. He was considering whether or not to apply, but we did have a good conversation. And in fact, he had already reapplied before he and I spoke, but I'm grateful for him stepping up as well. Anything else? All in favor of the motion to appoint Mr. Bars to the Zoning Board of Appeals, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. That was to, just for clarity, we already voted on this, but I'm assuming it's retaining the spot that he had? Okay. So because they actually have one of the permanent members, not an alternate. Okay, thank you.
Move to appoint David Coyne to the reapplication to ZBA with term ending 12/31/28.
So I have a question about that
Is it
one.
on that?
Yes.
But I'll wait to discussion.
Support.
We have a motion by Rogers, support by Lannon. I just wanted clarification on the motion. He currently is the alternate one. Is the motion for the permanent board seat or one of the alternates?
To accept his application as the,
Permanent one?
He's requesting to move from alternate to permanent
Oh,
in his
then yes,
application, I
permanent.
believe.
yes.
With the term ending 12/31/28 is what you said,
Mhm.
right? Okay.
That's his request.
Everybody heard the motion then, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I served with Dave on EDA, grateful for him being there. I am actually gonna vote no, because I think Liz was the better ZBA board member in this case. And it's not anything against Dave, because I think he's a great EDA board member, but I watched their meetings, and as far as what's contributed, I would pick Liz for the permanent seat, which she's also applied for. I'm just putting that out there. Any other comments?
That was my question was, we had another applicant for the same spot, so
Okay. Clerk Cody,
Does it bump the other one down to alternate? Or
Uh,
just bumps her out, or would we have to make another motion? to
it would,
make her-
it would bump her out of that spot.
Okay.
In the sense, we'd be filling her spot that she's also applied for, that she currently is in.
Okay.
Does that answer your question, clerk?
Yes.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Any other discussion?
Yeah, why would it bump her out of that opportunity for an
Unless I'm
alternate position?
misreading it, because there would be no other open seats. The only open seat at that point would be the alternate one.
So why would it bump her out of the opportunity to be nominated for the alternate one seat?
Oh.
It wouldn't, only if, depends on the outcome of this motion.
Mhm.
Yeah, does that answer your question?
Mhm.
Okay, any other comments, questions? Everybody clear on the motion? And let me ask the question conversely. Anybody not clear on the motion? Okay, all in favor of the motion to appoint Mr. Coyne to the ZBA, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign? Aye.
aye.
Motion passes.
I mean, should we ask her if she wants to do the alternate spot? Or can we just make a motion to put her in an alternate for the remaining 2 years?
Yeah, I suppose, if she didn't want to have that, she could always step down,
Yep.
if you're inclined to make that motion.
Motion to nominate Liz Presnell for the alternate one position, term ending 12/31/27.
ZBA.
ZBA.
Support.
Thanks.
Motion by Cody, support by Lannon. Comments? Liz has served at least one term, if not two, at this point. So I want to thank her for her service as well, and glad that she was willing to reapply. So if there's no other comments, all in favor of appointing Ms. Presnell to the ZBA, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously.
Was the motion for an alternate position?
Yeah.
Yes, that was for an
Alternate
alternate one. I will comment, as long as, just, if you haven't seen the last CBA meeting, our alternate two actually had the opportunity to sit and was very prepared. Franklin McKenzie, who we appointed not too long ago, who happened to go through training and was called into action at the last meeting. So it was nice to see him get that opportunity and join in the discussion. Let's see. Any thoughts on the Mid-Michigan Cable Consortium? And I only bring that up because we have an empty seat on our schedule, if you will. It's not been customary for us to have an additional person on that board. But I guess I'd like to ask Director Smith at some point if she would enjoy company on that board.
Okay. I want to point out that the election committee has Mr. Jeff Brown on it.
Yes.
So that we'll have an
Good
open-
segue, if I may.
Thank you, yep.
Since it was brought up in that light, when does the election committee next have duties? That'll be,
Probably March.
that's what I was thinking too. So my thoughts on that, I'm going to segue into the Board of Trustees. We have an open spot, Trustee Brown, seat that's open. We asked for applications. We received 2 of those. Thought we might receive a third one, but we received 2. So it's up to this board to decide what to do with that now. My suggestion is, and my thought is, or assumption, that this board will eventually appoint someone before the deadline, based on statutory, or statute. If we do that appointment, that might be the perfect time to visit the election board and all the other liaison roles that we have to make sure that we have them all filled. City's also open, the city liaison. Is there some shuffling that people feel they might want to do because you want to try something different or it no longer works with your schedule? So my thoughts are we would wait till we were a full board of 7 again before we would visit that. Is that reasonable?
Yes, that makes sense.
I mean, did you want to have a meeting, or could I just like make a motion to nominate somebody?
For?
The board position.
You could, my personal preference, but even if you make the motion, I'll state that, I guess. My thoughts, and we don't have to do it this way, we've accepted 2 applications. We are not restricted to only pick those 2 applications. The discussions prior to this meeting was that we would go out for these applications. The intent was to try to maybe interview them. We asked for cover letter, the application, resume of some sort. And my perception of what this board is wanting to do is go through an interview process. To do that, we'd have to schedule, I would suggest, something prior to our January 14th meeting, because that's getting awful close to the deadline. But we are only bound by what we want to do. There is no other state regulations here on how we go about this. So the answer to your question is if you decide to make a motion, then that happens.
Couldn't we do what we've done in the past?
Which is?
Which is the applicants would be our next meeting, present if we had any questions, and if somebody wanted to nominate, and then we vote.
That was what I thought I heard that this board is wanting to do. My only suggestion is that we don't wait till the 14th.
Don't wait till the 14th.
Oh,
That
We
we,
have to
we
have a
try to
special
schedule
meeting.
something maybe the week prior,
I'm sorry, yes.
with the sole purpose of filling, or
And
at least,
I'm-
at least
and I'm-
interviewing.
I'm open to other suggestions, but that's the only thing I can, and that's kind of what we've done, it seemed to work out where the applicant gets an opportunity to just, if they'd like to come up and say something, they could. If we would like to ask a question, we could, we don't have to.
Right. It's up to this board.
I
I mean,
agree, I don't wanna wait.
I don't either.
Yeah, I don't either. So, it seems to me we have some options. We could just, someone could make a motion, we could vote tonight and something positive as far as appointment happened tonight. We could try to schedule and contact the two individuals, I think, ask them to come in, do the interview process as trustee Theron was just describing. And if we do that, I would suggest that first week in January. I don't want to get too close to that final deadline where then it's up to the county to take the next step. I thought I had a third option in mind, trustee Lannon.
Just my thoughts would be, reviewing the two applicants that we have. They both, in my mind, on paper, appear certainly educated and qualified and experienced to be a board member here. I think the number one important piece from my perspective is an interview process to get to know more about the person, not on paper, but who they are and their interest. And I would think that my thought is, if everybody agrees that they're both qualified to talk with, that we set an appointment first week of January, speak with both of them, learn what we can, no decisions or discussion being made about who anybody is interested in choosing, but then we'd have that knowledge similar to like looking at the resume. And then at the board meeting on the 14th, which would be prior to the deadline of having to be appointed,
Makes me
whoever
nervous.
chooses to make a nomination for one of the candidates can
I
choose
would
to
rather
do so.
vote at the special meeting just because I don't want to get that close because it's really close to the deadline. It just makes me nervous if a couple of people
Oh,
don't show up.
Okay, that's clarifying.
That's the only thing that would make me,
That would be the
You know what I
special
mean.
meeting, the
Yes.
yeah, so if we
interview.
had one, it would be
Okay.
like,
Yeah,
The 5th.
the first week in January.
Yeah,
Like
sure.
the 6th or 7th.
I concur with that.
I mean, if we can have,
Yeah.
can you do a doodle poll so we can schedule, or
Days.
create whoever, so we can then schedule it and then we'll announce it? Or do you want to do
You
it now?
schedule, should pick a date right now?
Let's real quick pick one or two or three. I would suggest like January 6th, which is a Tuesday, or the 7th, which is a Wednesday. That's the week before our
Right.
next board meeting.
Right.
Or we could do even the 8th, which is the Thursday.
Tuesday would be good for me.
If I
Tues-
had to pick, it would be Wednesday.
Wednesday, it wouldn't have, I couldn't do it until after 7:30. I don't want to be late. It's not going to be that long of a meeting. It's my last Wednesday.
I can do either. And the other issue here is, I'm assuming we'd want both candidates to have the opportunity
Mhm.
to be here. What is their schedule?
We
Right,
might need some
right.
flexibility for sure.
Yeah. So I'm okay.
7:30 Wednesday, if it's okay with everybody.
If we did Wednesday, 7:30 is okay?
Mm.
Otherwise, if we did Tuesday, 7?
Yep.
So how about, I'm hearing consensus, right? 6th or 7th?
Yep.
Why don't, at this point, then we'll reach out to the two
Right.
in the, tomorrow, or Monday, somewhere in there. Check the schedule of the two applicants, see what works for them, and then we try to make that work for this board. Because I think it's important that they're here. And it'd be really good to have all 6 of us here as well.
Right.
Yeah. Is that good?
Just a question, Does daytime work for anybody, or is that an absolute no on those dates as well? If the candidates needed some flexibility, we're available in the day, but not in the evening.
Most everybody works.
Yeah, Tuesday I don't get out until 3:30. Oh, you know, 4:30 or something.
Yeah, I was just wondering, with people's schedules, maybe they
Why
don't work on
why
a
don't we
Tuesday,
just agree
whatever.
to the dates currently? I'll reach out to the two candidates tomorrow and/or hopefully I get a hold of them by Monday. See what their availability is, and we'll use that to set up a doodle poll. Are you willing to assist in that? Administration?
What do we need to do to pull?
Just assist in getting a doodle poll for us to finalize the date and
Sets time.
time. So we can
Well,
publish
we all
it.
know you're available the 6th or the 7th.
Mhm.
If you're gonna be talking to the candidates, well, both of them are gonna need to be available either
Right.
the 6th or the 7th, or both.
Yeah, I'm gonna check their availability.
Yeah, and then just, as long as two of them can be one of those dates, we don't need to do a poll.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yep.
Then we just schedule a special meeting.
Yeah, as long as we know that everybody here is able to make that.
I can
Yeah,
make
I-
either one.
You were all good Tuesday?
I'm good either day.
Everybody good
Avoid
here,
the
6th or
7:30?
7th,
If
7:30?
it's Wednesday,
Yep.
7:30 would work.
Yep.
6 or
Yes.
7,
Yep.
7:30. Everybody can make it, okay?
I might be a little late on Tuesday, because I got a kiddo from 6 to 7 typically.
Let's do 7:30 both nights.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that'll work.
Does that work?
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, so 7:30 both nights. I'll reach out to candidates, see that they can be available, and we'll let them help dictate which day that ends up being.
You can probably set a phone call right now.
One of them.
We'll wait, yeah, we'll wait till end of the meeting, if you're still here.
I'd just like to say something about both of the candidates. I've had the honor of being on the planning commission with both of them, and they both come 100% prepared, participate with meaningful conversations that help us come to our decision. That's been my experience with both gentlemen.
And I've watched enough planning commission that, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I would second your comments. Anything else on that issue? All right, so at this point, on your calendars, kind of block off that 7:30 window on Tuesday and Wednesday. Okay, and then I'll get back, hopefully by Monday, with what works best for candidates. If both nights work for both, then we'll just decide and we'll publish it, okay? Moving on then? December monthly activity report. I didn't actually see it. Did I skip through it somehow?
Is there?
It is? How did I miss it? I often look for it. I missed it. I usually go through the agenda and go through specific things at different times. Anyway, so I missed that. I'll have to go back and read that. Any comments or questions on that? That brings us to 9C on our agenda, Planning Commission, EDA, ZBA updates by our Community and Economic Development Director, Mr. Nanny.
Thank you. I have a short report. The Zoning Board of Appeals did not meet in December. The Planning Commission also did not meet in December. We had no agenda items that need to go that way, and so met with the chair, and we decided to cancel the December meeting. The Economic Development Authority Board did meet on Tuesday evening. They took care of their regular business items, and then they did hold a closed session. This is related to consideration of an appraisal for real property and a possible purchase of real property in the CDA district. So they held a closed session. They came out of that, took no other actions on it, and that was the extent of the items on the list for this month.
Thank you, Ronnie.
That's the quietest one you've ever given.
I know.
But here, one page.
Thank you.
Thank you. Board member reports, trustee Landon?
Sure. I attended the Isabella County Board of Commissioners work session. And they had a presentation that I certainly found interesting. Chad Gittes, the Director of Emergency 911 Dispatch, gave a presentation to the board. And a few things by the numbers, just showing what a busy place our central dispatch is. They have a non-emergency phone line, and that phone line received, and this is their fiscal year 24 to 25, received over 65,000 calls. Wow. On the non-emergency line, although there could be emergencies on that non-emergency call line. Complaints to dispatch through 911 were a bit over 58,000 calls. So virtually with every one of those emergency calls, that's getting people moving to help people in our community. Calls for police services in the county, which include Shepherd Police, State Police, City of Mount Pleasant, and Isabella County, was over 32,000 calls for the year. And the emergency service, fire service, and MMR received over 13,000 calls. So you add those together and divide them by 365 days in the year, there's a lot of activity going on. So you got real people doing real things, helping real people, and those folks need to be trained and educated well. Also at that board meeting, they were considering appointments to a number of boards, Board of Public Works, a couple of folks to the Commission on Aging Advisory Board from various districts in the county. Folks to the, a person to the Transportation Committee, considered appointing a person to the Planning Commission, and to the Zoning Board of Appeals. And that was pretty much the beef of the meeting. I'll condense in the sake of people's requests to keep things moving. Also, I attended the Council of Governments meeting, and there was a presentation there by a couple of fire chiefs from the county that are part of the Isabella County Fire Chiefs Association. And that was Tribal Chief Fred Cantu and City of Mount Pleasant's Fire Chief Doug Lobzinger. And since at that meeting, Council of Governments, you got representation from all the townships, as well as, you know, potential, you got county commissioners and potentially road commission folks there and stuff. And they were presenting to the group on their, in the conceptual stages, at least, I mean, they've had several meetings on it, about their vision for creating a police, fire, EMS training facility here in the region somewhere. So what that would do is it's a modular design of typically shipping containers and things, and in different arrangements to simulate the firefighting, the practical firefighting that folks need to learn about in real situations, as well as police operation tactical exercises and EMS. So there's a vision from the Fire Chiefs Association to generate interest, build support. They're thinking about land acquisition, what would be reasonable, and the project development and training development. And they envision this to be something that ultimately would draw in folks from around the state, probably more from the northern area down to here. So that's on the minds of some of the emergency folks in the county. And just reviewing back to those numbers I read of how much activity goes on, the training facility probably could only enhance efficiencies and outcomes. Joe Salmek was there and he gave a presentation, a historical view of tribal lands that were set aside in Michigan for various tribes and the treaties that were agreed to going back to the early 1800s, and sent the message to the folks in leadership positions in the county about the importance of working together, sharing our resources, to try and create, you know, the healthiest and safest and most educated community possible in our region by all working together. And then State Rep Jerry Nyer spoke, and he spoke a little bit about the PA 116 tax credit for Michigan farmlands and open preservation program, again, which he had spoken to at another meeting I was at, which helps landowners minimize some tax expenditures on their property. And he also went through a little bit of the 2025 work project money allocations and disclosures from the department heads of the various state departments. And that pretty much concluded that meeting.
Awesome.
Questions? Thanks.
Trustee Lake?
Got nothing.
Treasurer Rogers?
The road commission board met this morning, and the first order of business was appointing, electing and appointing people to the position. So for 2026, Dave Livermore will be the chair, Terry Turnwald will be the vice chair, and Jolene Sandel will be the clerk again. And then Bill Hauk will be appointed to the Parks and Recreation Board again for 26. They went over their dates for the meetings next year. Chase said that recommendations were sent out to the township for gravel for 2026, and the lobbyists are working on making it possible that marijuana money will get sent to the road commissioners. So that's interesting. The Lincoln Road from Pickard to River 2-inch overlay is planned for next year. So that's it.
So the Parks and Rec, that's under the county itself, right? So is that like a liaison role from the road commission?
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense then.
Yep.
They don't appoint all the members, they're appointing their liaison member. That
Yeah,
makes
that's
sense.
just.
Trustee Therian?
Nothing to report?
Clerk Cody? And I have nothing with EDA, it was already covered. So moving on, we have a consent agenda. Who had warrants?
I went through the warrants the other day and everything turned out to be perfect.
Wonderful.
Motion to approve.
I would request, if possible, just because I think it's an important item, to remove the fire service agreement with the city of Mount Pleasant from the consent agenda.
Do you want to make a motion to
You
approve it?
started a motion. Okay,
I'll leave mine alone.
okay. Hearing no
I'd make a
support.
motion to remove item G of the consent agenda and put it into our discussion. And it could be at the very end.
So G.
G
G moves to
moving
G.
to,
G.
to A, B, C, D, F.
G.
I mean, do you
G
just
to
have
G.
a question
Okay.
about it?
G.
So,
I just want to discuss it.
Okay.
I want to highlight it.
so we have a motion. Was there support for that?
Support.
Motion by Lannon, support by Therian.
Oh, that's funny.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving consent agenda with with the exception of item G, moving to end of our new business as item G. Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. That brings us to our new business. First item, 2026 board schedule. That's in your packet. I trust everybody's had an opportunity to look through all that. Mr. Stuhldreher, do you have anything you want to introduce on this?
I do not.
Happy to entertain any motions regarding the calendar for next year. We do have to adopt a calendar for 2026.
Move to approve the 2026 calendar.
Support.
Motion by Rogers, support by Cody. Did you have a question?
Discussion's fine.
Okay, we're there.
Okay. I'd just point out that the only meeting for December 16th, is a conflict with the Council of Governments, December meeting, which I think's worthwhile to attend, and encourage all from this board member to attend the Council of Government meetings.
And then, as you know, we're meeting on a Thursday tonight. It's because when we did the calendar last year, we bumped the meeting from the Wednesday to the Thursday. And it wasn't because of the Council of Governments, it was actually my fault. It was my anniversary yesterday, and I got a problem meeting on Thursday instead.
I just wanted to point that
Yeah.
out.
If we bump it to Thursday, it'll be on your anniversary next year.
Yeah.
Oh, I see your point.
Just pointing that out. And just a question about November 10th.
That's-
Is it Tuesday, I'm assuming, because Wednesday is
Veterans
Veterans
Day.
Day? And then the second meeting is a Tuesday as well.
Planning Commission meets on is it third Tuesday? Okay.
I imagine the Tuesday for November 24th is because of Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Yeah, in our joint meeting, April 15th, tax day.
I think we
That's
should-
also a Council of Governments meeting day as well.
I think we should just leave it alone for now.
We have a motion out there. Oh, we don't have a motion.
Yeah,
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
And a support.
To approve
Forgive
this.
me. Oh, yeah. Motion, support. So any other discussion, issues?
Are we considering changing the date then?
That's not the motion on the floor.
No.
I'm not hearing enough uprising to change anything.
I think we should leave it for now.
I guess if you feel like we should do that, then vote against this.
Well, if it can change in the future,
Yeah.
if need be.
Yeah, ideally not, but yes.
Yes.
All right, any other discussion? We have a motion to approve the calendar as presented for 2026. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
No.
Motion passes with the exception of one nay, if I counted correctly.
Correct.
Brings us to item B, Gordy Fraser Service Agreement, Renaissance Academy, Isabella Road Project. Mr. Stuhldreher, would you like to introduce this?
Thank you. There is a report, and good evening, everybody. There's a report in your packet that begins on page 54. We received funding, grant award from the Tribal 2% program in the amount of $36,000. The application was related to this item that's in front of you tonight. We're trying to help facilitate the community, improve access and safety to the Renaissance School, student pickup and drop-off times, improve maybe access to the sportsplex as well. As we've probably all seen, traffic gets backed up on Isabella and get kind of dangerous in the morning and evenings. So we're trying to explore how we can resolve that. And so we're asking the board to consider approving a contract with Gordy Fraser to develop a conceptual plan, I'll call it a conceptual development plan. The work would include some surveying, development of a conceptual plan for new access off of Isabella, some sidewalk work that's interior to the facility. We don't know where this is going next, but I've been here 10 years. This has been talked about for 10 years, probably longer. And I think there's an opportunity, I believe unanimously, to forward this on to the Board of Trustees with the recommendation that they adopt same. And I'd like at this time to ask Mr. Nanny to come forward and explain a little bit about this, just because what we're basically doing is trying to create a safer mechanism to allow these operations to exist, with the understanding that when they do exist, there could be a lot of firearms in the house, and we don't need to publicize that all over the place. That's basically the bottom line. Mr. Nanny.
Well, thank you. As you see on the first page of the report, there's a number of different types of federal firearms licenses there, everything from manufacturing, importing, to pawnbrokers, that's sort of the more intensive activities, commercial, industrial activities. And then there are this less intensive range of activities, which, as the manager said, essentially operate as a home occupation. Often they can be very simple, where it's a federally licensed person is running a business, essentially facilitating the transfer or sale of firearms between a buyer and a seller that may not even be in the state. Much of this happens over the internet today. And they're simply essentially a broker. Some cases they will have firearms in inventory. In other cases they may be repairing firearms, acting as sort of traditional gunsmith activity. But they're doing this at a scale where they're operating out of their home. We do allow home occupations and various businesses to operate out of homes in the residential and agricultural district. But this particular activity, currently in our ordinance, requires a public hearing. And as manager mentioned, that does create, unintentionally creates a safety problem for these licensees, because in order to hold a hearing in front of the planning commission, we have to advertise it. And that advertisement has to say that not only the applicant and their address, but also what are they going to be doing, which is with the description of firearms dealer activity, gunsmith activity. And so those notices do go out in a number of ways, and we've heard from potential licensees that they are concerned. There's significant concern about the public hearing requirement, that is impeding their ability to pursue this type of activity in our community. I have heard the same in other communities. This is not unique to Union Township. I've heard similar stories in other communities that have a hearing requirement for this type of activity. The activity itself, as I said, this is a federal license. This is where it starts. The federal government requires confirmation of local zoning approval, which is how we get involved in order for a federal license to be issued. These folks are the most regulated business that's out there, I think, just about. They have to operate very, very carefully. They have very, very strict set of rules. And the ATF, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, is very active in watching over these licensees. I've known some folks that have these licenses, and they've described to me some of the regulatory elements that they have to deal with. It is significant. So these are operations that are very quiet, and often neighbors have no idea that they're there. They only have a few people coming and going occasionally, or may not even have any customers coming to their home. So our said proposal is to make an adjustment to ordinance that essentially eliminates that public hearing requirement for these firearms dealer home occupation activities.
But that's not required by law? I thought you said it was required by law, the hearing.
that right now, under our current zoning ordinance, a
Oh,
hearing would
by,
be required.
okay, individuals,
And-
okay.
And planning commission action. That's really why we're making the change. If the amendment were to be adopted, then a firearms dealer home occupation activity, as allowed under this amendment, would become, at best, administrative approval. Essentially, the zoning administrator would be signing off and saying that it complies with their zoning ordinance. No hearing requirement.
Okay.
Do you want me, can I make a motion or do that one?
I have a question if I may
Okay.
before. Do you have the packet in front of you?
Sure.
So it's page 71 in the packet, page 3, I think, of the text, section 619. So this home occupations and home-based limited businesses, allowable uses, and then it goes through A through J, I, somewhere in there. When you say allowable uses, does that have anything to do with the requirement for public hearing or notification to the public?
So, under section 6.19, this list of activities, and subsection C7, these are the home occupation activities are allowed by right. You can simply, you can do this in your home. You actually don't even need any kind of zoning administrator approval for it. So you can operate these activities in your home.
Right,
So
which
it would be adding.
Adding this, this is what my interpretation was, right? So these are essentially the exceptions that say if you're gonna do a home occupation, these are the ones you don't have to do anything special to be allowed to do it.
Exactly.
Thank you.
And you have I know it's not a part of our amendment, but I'd love to highlight it. The one right above this proposed addition is one of my favorites. I love putting it into a zoning ordinance, and I actually asked for this one to be added to the 2020 ordinance, because I think it's very important to support our younger set in their home occupation activities.
Right.
So these two girls that live across the street from me have become enterprising. They've decided they have to snow or plow my driveway for me, or shovel, I should say is a better term. So just food for thought. My neighbor kid to the left wants to rake my yard, right after I've raked it, of course, because it's a lot easier then, but, yeah. Same kind of idea. The lemonade stand is popular in my neighborhood.
Right.
Question, if I could.
Yeah, trustee Lannon?
Yes,
Thank
so,
you.
in the section we're just looking at, section 6.19, home occupations and home-based limited businesses, allowable uses. So that means, just to help me out here, that means there's no special use requirement for those home-based businesses.
Yeah,
Is
this
that
list of
correct?
activities as a home occupation would not require a special use permit or any kind of public hearing.
And the prohibited ones, just not allowable or require a special use?
No, the prohibited ones are prohibited. They're simply not allowed. The prohibited ones are just to give guidance on what can be done and what can't be done, make it very clear. Certain activities are not appropriate as home occupation.
Yes, so for example, I don't see daycare on here, but daycare would be one that isn't listed as an allowable use, but may be permitted through special use.
Well, we actually, daycares, there are some activities that you might think of as home occupation, but they're listed elsewhere in the ordinance. So daycare homes.
Okay, so I picked a bad one.
Yeah, that's actually, it's in the ordinance elsewhere.
Okay. But as an example, there may be a home occupation that's not listed here. Those are the ones that then would require the public hearing.
Exactly, yes. That's exactly correct. You see that, what would now be item I, down,
Right.
under subsection 7. That's where we pick up anything that
Oh,
doesn't,
yeah.
that's not listed here. It can be considered as home occupation, but only through planning commission review and a public hearing.
So is there, I'm sorry, trustee Landon?
Go ahead. No, go
Is there, I'm sure the planning, I haven't watched these particular planning commission meetings. I'm sure they've done their due diligence. Is there some form of middle ground on this? And here's why I ask this. If I'm the neighbor and there's a gun dealer next to me, I might want to know that, because I may have kids at home or grandkids that are coming over, and for whatever reason, I may want to be aware of that, so I could see the use of a public hearing and notification, so I'm aware of that. In the same light, I see the safety concern from this particular applicant or other applicants that they don't want to advertise this. I get that. I'm assuming that was discussed at length at the planning commission?
It was, yes. And, in fact, there was an element where during the discussion, it was pointed out, I don't remember who pointed out, maybe me, but it was pointed out that folks can have a lot of guns in their house.
Right.
And nobody
right.
knows. So these folks are simply taking extra step of having business activity.
Right.
But you certainly can have a very large supply of guns, ammunition, all sorts of things in your home, and the neighbors will not know it's there. As I said, that's really where the key element here comes in, that these are federally regulated. The property, the business, everything is inspected. They're subject to spot inspections. They're required to keep any firearms in the home in a certain manner that's secured. So the issue is that these folks have to be far safer than simply an gun owner.
Right. That's it.
And I would agree 100%, because there are responsible gun owners, and there are those that may not be as responsible, that may not keep their gun in a safe, for example. And yeah, thank you. Trustee Landon, you had something?
Yes. So what would be some of the approved home-based occupancies that would require a special use permit in this section? Do you have any examples that have come before you?
Anything that's not listed? Right.
Well, actually, some of them listed here are ones that have been that way in the past. My favorite there is item C, home office of a massage therapist. In the past, not here, but in my career, my experience, that has been one that has come up where somebody wanted to be a massage therapist, and it was not included in the list, often because zoning ordinances are written to prohibit the other kind of massage activities that are less desirable to have in a community. And so they tend to over-regulate and prohibit therapeutic massage. So that's one of the reasons this one's in there, is because of that issue. I want to make it clear if you can have a therapeutic massage business in your home. Similarly, it's addressed here, but another one that in the past has come up are folks who want to have a hair care or nail care business, where they are having a fair amount of customers coming. That's when the customer has to come to the home. And so often it was not on the list because there was concern about whether or not they would comply, or whether the neighbors would be upset with the number of people coming and going. For our purposes, we simply wrote into the ordinance specific standards for that. How many customers per day, the maximum, that sort of thing. And they can follow it. If they are grown to the point where they can't follow it anymore, that's really when they should be moving on to an off-site business activity.
Okay. It is true our ordinance would require a special use permit for a daycare provider of 6 kids or 12 kids. Is that accurate?
For what's called a group daycare home, yes, which actually is now, interestingly, is now 7 or more kids. It used to be six or more for a group daycare home. It's now 7 or more is a group daycare home. That does require a special use permit. The family daycare home, which is up to 7, does not. We actually have no control over those.
And just remind me where we would find in our ordinances talk about daycares established in a daycare.
The standards for daycare homes are also in Section 6, and they are mandated by state law. They're taken right out of the State Zoning Act and they put in our ordinance. And where daycare homes are allowed is in Section 3, which is where the various zoning districts and land uses are listed.
Okay. And that does require a public hearing where names, addresses, that sort of information is published.
That's correct for group daycare home, yes.
Okay. So just other thoughts that crossed my mind if I was involved in the planning commission, things that kind of rise as questions in my mind. First, I would, and it's been noted that, we do live in rural Michigan where it would it's very common and would almost be expected that there's gonna be guns, ammunitions in the homes. You know, that's not uncommon in this area. And so with that in mind, I also think about, I think transparency is so important. When governments do things that make things opaque or classified or prohibited, that doesn't set overly well with me. I want to think that through if we're going to take a step like that. And then it makes me think, well, a child care provider needs to get a special use and identify that. And this is kind of going on a limb, but, you know, crosses my mind. You know, the concern with the firearms is safety and probably security, because thieves would go in and maybe break into the house. But, you know, there's classifications of people who are interested in little kids for not appropriate purposes either. But we would identify that. And then if I think about, well, I am a operating daycare, and now I have my next door neighbor coming in as a firearms, ammunitions, explosive dealer type person, and I'm not allowed to know about that, or me as a user of their service with my children, I would think I have the right to know the environment, the close proximity of environments that I'm moving my children to spend the day. And so that would raise a question in my mind about keeping this under the radar, per se. I don't know if information goes out to fire and police folks at all, but, you know, from experience, I've been in fire situations, and people talk about, well, people kill, guns don't kill. But I've been in a number of fire situations over my career where you have intense fire, you have ammunition, and you have explosions all around you, potentially, if your fire zone is that in that portion of the house. And I have a couple experiences that I can relate to very clearly. And so for the safety of our emergency responders, you know, that would be appropriate information for them to have. And so those are things that just pass through my mind as I read this, trying to make sure if we approve something, is this the best draft? Could this be modified? Should it not be allowed? Should we be transparent, regardless of what the home business is? So just thoughts for the board to consider and think about.
I think it looks great.
Mm-hmm.
Rodney, you did a good job. Like, I mean,
Yes.
even explaining it more with your examples on,
I'd rather have someone, I'm sorry.
Somebody's watched over by the federal government.
Exactly.
Versus, hey, my neighbor has 500 guns in his thing and you can't do anything about it. You don't know they're there.
Yeah.
They're not 500, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
But, you know, I like it. But then, yeah, if you are selling something, I mean, it does put a target on their back, so I think it is safer for them as a, you
Yes.
know,
There's
business
the
person.
federal government watching them, and I'm sure everything's gonna be stored properly and safely, and, yeah. Do we have a motion yet?
We do not.
One more question. For my clarification, Rodney, so this proposed language would entail changing gunsmith to firearms dealer, and it would include license types 01, 03, and 08.
Actually, I'll clarify, 03, interestingly, is one, collector of curios, these curios these are weapons that don't work. These are Civil War or Revolutionary War weapons. They're guns that deliberately don't work. And so in some cases, if somebody acquires enough of these things, they can reach a point where they need to get this license. It is easily given. There's not a whole lot of checking on it. It's just essentially say, yeah, we know you have those guns there. So that item really doesn't even come into our discussion. We would require a special use permit for that. We would just understand that that's really just a private collection of non-working weapons, essentially artifacts. So primarily it would be number 1 and yes, number 8. Yeah, just anything involving destructive devices. I love that it's really a euphemism, essentially, explosives. Anything involving explosives, anything involving manufacturing, a pawnbroker, those activities are all not part of the home occupation set of allowed activities.
So would I be allowed to have a home-based occupation without notification as a reloader of ammunition?
The list of activities are prohibited. You can see them there on page 72. So we have importer or manufacturer of destructive devices, any manufacturer of ammunition for firearms. This is where I'm kind of calling question. That manufacturing of ammunition, I suspect, is essentially what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So that would be prohibited as a home occupation. That would, it could be an activity that could be allowed in commercial or probably an industrial district. It's essentially a full business activity rather than a home occupation activity.
So then you would say, per definition, a person could not reload ammunition.
We're just following, as I said, this new item H, if this was going to be adopted. That's what we would be sharing with people. These activities are prohibited.
This is for sale, correct? Because you could
reload
could
your
do your
own.
own.
make your own ammunition at home.
Just not a business.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
Probably
being
not if you
defined.
not if you're under federal regulation as a home occupation.
Well,
No,
I'm
not,
not sure how you could
I
separate
mean,
that.
a lot of people
Or do it as a
make
hobby.
their
you do
own-
it for yourself, but not selling it.
You can't sell it.
I don't know.
if you need
I'm just throwing out questions and trying to get interpretation what the thought is.
essentially, if the
And I
activity,
appreciate
if the
anybody's
activity would
input.
require a federal firearms dealer license, and you're wanting to reload ammunition under that federal license, that would not be allowed as home occupation. If you're reloading your own ammunition for your own use, that's not federally regulated or licensed, and so that we would not even know about it. Just anybody that would be doing anything in their garage or workshop.
Thank you.
So with each of the home occupations, the 619, and I realize we have some separate in other parts of the zoning now that are dealt with on their own. Each of those at least have to have administrative approval, correct?
That's right. The zoning administrator would review the request, and if it complied, the zoning administrator would be able to sign off on it.
So if I was, and I'm going to use the example I was kind of using before, if I'm a parent that's very concerned about arms by my home, and I agree with the comment Trustee Landon said, we live in mid-Michigan, your neighbor probably has them anyways, right? But let's say I wanted to go ask, are there arms dealers in my neighborhood? If they ask the township, can you tell me about what home occupations we have in the township and where, that's something that is public knowledge, correct? It's just not requiring the public notification.
So home occupations, here's how we handle home occupations. We do not require any kind of administrative permit normally. If somebody wants to operate a lawyer's office or a doctor's office, or they want to build cabinets, custom cabinetry in their pole barn, they do not have to come to the township and get an administrative permit for that. So in some cases, they want one because maybe they're getting a bank loan or for other reasons. It's helpful to have a local verification of zoning approval. And so we are happy to grant that. If they need it, they can file a request for a permit. to be reviewed and the zoning administrator sign off, but we don't require it. So in that way, we do not have a registry of home occupations in the township. We simply, in those cases where a permit's been issued, we have a list of those.
Those, okay.
In the same way, in this case, if we take this action, the copy of the request, which is basically a copy of the license application that would be forwarded to us from the Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, a copy of that with the zoning administrator's signature would end up in our BSNA building module system under that property. So there would be a record there that on whatever date it was that document was signed and approved. So somebody could make a request for those documents if they chose to.
Yeah, and the point I was trying to make is this, it's not being completely hidden, we're just not advertising it.
Right.
Yeah, so if somebody did request for that information, they could get
Right.
to it. Because I do empathize with the comments Trustee Lannon said as far as transparency, and I get that. How come they were exempt, but these aren't? But we do have quite a few that are exempt. But I get it. I probably the point that I took most notice of was in this exception, maybe notifying authorities so that they're aware, in the case of like you said, a fire zone, right? I mean, that does seem to be useful information if you're going in an emergency request to a home. What do you know about the place, right? Is that something firefighters typically look up before they go if they're in a fast call?
There's commercial and business entities that are required by law under what's called the Firefighters Right to Know Act if they possess certain quantities of various chemicals or product.
So that should be happening already then, shouldn't it?
It does happen,
Okay, so.
but I'm not in tune to what's going on in the world of firearm folks from a home occupation standpoint. I'm talking commercial and business.
But the Firefighters Right to Know Act should be taking care of most kind of things like that, and I have to assume that that's gonna cover what should be covered.
In business and commercial.
Oh, this is only business commercial, not home occupation.
And like
I'm not aware of any home occupations that
I
have
see.
right to know requirements.
Because that may be an issue not just with firearms, but other home
Explosives
occupations.
of
Well,
any sort.
even if,
Yeah.
like, if you are to use Mr. Nanny's example, building cabinets in your pool barn,
Right.
and you've got mineral spirits and finishing things, that's potentially, I mean, that kind of falls in the same purview.
Interesting.
And I'm
In
sure that-
reality, yes, it's equally as explosive in a house or a business.
So the grill propane tank.
Yeah.
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 Right.
Well, and I'm sure they're regulated by the federal government. They're going to make sure that ammunition will be stored in fire safe,
Yeah.
6 inches thick concrete, steel, whatever. But
I would agree.
yeah,
It was an interesting point that you had brought up regarding
Yeah.
that, and I
Yeah.
appreciate that
Just
discussion.
thoughts and things
Yeah.
to think about, you know, trying to share, to get a broader perspective.
I'll make a motion to introduce and conduct the first reading for the proposed PTXT 25-02 amendments to sections 2 definitions, 3 zoning districts and maps, and 6 standards applicable to specific land uses, to add firearms dealer to the list of allowable home occupation and home-based limited business activities subject to limitations, to revive the definition of gunsmith, and to add new definitions for firearm, destructive device, federal firearms license, firearms dealer, as recommended by the Planning Commission.
support.
Motion by Cody, support by Rogers. I just want to comment and thank our director for his patience and our questioning and understanding so that we can get a better feel for the text amendment that's proposed. So we are officially conducting we haven't, any other discussion? Anybody not understand the motion? Would you do a roll call of the board, please?
Supervisor Milky,
Yes.
Treasurer Rogers.
Yes.
Trustee Lannon,
No.
Trustee Lay,
Yes.
Trustee Thering,
Yes.
Clerk Cody, yes.
So we've officially conducted a first reading.
Yeah.
I realize we just voted. Anything else on this that people would like to add?
Like, we didn't pass anything, we're
No.
just holding it,
Right.
You're correct. A first
That's-
reading.
yeah. That was,
Nothing else? If not, we'll move on. New business, next on our agenda is item D. Consider ratification of tentatively approved collective bargaining agreements. Mr. Stuhldreher, I'm sure you're anxious to introduce this one.
I'm happy to introduce it. We're asking the board to consider approving, there's various tentative agreements that have been reached between, I'll just say management and the bargaining units. We have two bargaining units referred to as supervisory, non-supervisory. Our two existing agreements expire at the end of this year. We commenced negotiations in October of '25. We concluded those late in November. I think it was in June or July, where I met with the Board of Trustees in closed session to get some guidance on the negotiation parameters. The guidance I received was essentially adherence to Governance Policy 2.3, which attempts to do several things, keeping in mind fiscal integrity, and that we establish compensation and benefit programs that do not materially deviate from the geographic and professional markets. The other guidance that was received was that we wanted to continue shifting costs from the employer to the employee in the area of healthcare benefits. The changes, and they're outlined in more detail on page 74 of your packet. I'll start first with the cost of living, what's commonly referred to as the cost of living annual pay increases for the non-supervisory unit. Year one, 4.25%. Year two, 3.5%. Year three, 3.25%. For the supervisory unit, 4.25% year one, 3% year two, 3% year three. Helping to offset some of that a bit is continuing the shift in healthcare benefit costs from the employer to the employee. Currently is 12%. Year one of this agreement, it would be 13% in both cases. Both units, 13.5% in year two and 14% in year three. We changed the amount of delineation within the vacation schedule. We didn't add any vacation days, but we did add a additional rung in the ladder, if you will, where you can capture some of your vacation time sooner than in the existing agreement, and that is in the we added the 7 to 9 year increment, so you could take some of the vacation that you have to wait till 10 years to get earlier. Those I think are kind of the big ones. This is a 3-year agreement that's being recommended. I will say that both bargaining units ratified these contracts last week. As I said, they're both 3-year agreements. We've added, I'll call it a pay code, if you will. We have 24/7 operations for water and sewer, and folks need to be on call, and if they get called, they go out and work, and they get their regular time, and life goes on. And there's no changes to that. what we are adding is a requirement that, or we have what we want to do is be able to assign responsibility to an individual that, for the sake of illustration, they're required to keep a phone with them. They're required to be in such a state, if you will, that they can answer that phone, and they then, that's their responsibility. They will triage the situation, if you will. It may be that whatever the issue is doesn't require any field crew to be called out. We can handle it tomorrow. Or on the other hand, they may require the field to be called out. But that individual with the phone is the one we're trying to make sure is responsible for that activity, so that they take the call. And so for that individual, and we've signed the phones in the past, but now we're saying we're just being a little more tight on that. And in order then to compensate, because they are working under the rules, so they need to be compensated for that. So this new pay code that I call it, for $110 a week, if you're picked to be on the schedule, you're going to get $110 more for that week, because you're now, you have to carry that phone, you have to execute that duty. So that's new. We did increase the license pay 20 cents an hour across the schedules. The license pay premium has been a very beneficial thing to the township, both I think to the staff and particularly to us. What we're setting up for is people that are in jobs that currently don't require certain licenses, an incentive to acquire those licenses. So when there are positions that open up, they're more prepared to and able to compete for those positions. So it serves the employees well from a career laddering perspective. It serves us well because we end up with folks that are licensed beyond what their position requires, which allows us flexibility. And those premium levels had not changed, and they've been the same since I've been here, through 3 contracts at least. We did the technical in nature. We updated the sick leave provisions to comport with the new state of Michigan Sick Leave Act that was adopted by the state legislature and signed by the governor earlier this year. We did increase the death benefit at no cost to the employees. We provide a term life insurance policy. In the past, it's been $40,000. You can go up to $50,000 with no imputed premium amount that ends up being applied to somebody's W-2. If you go above $50,000, the value of the premium for the cost between 40 and 50 ends up being a taxable benefit. So we're underneath that threshold. And as it turns out, it's cheaper to get folks $50,000 term benefits than it is 40. Don't ask me why. Some questions we don't ask. We did add Juneteenth as an additional holiday, and did some clarifications to some of our paid time off benefits, particularly as they're related to new hires. In the last 3 years ago, in the existing agreement, we tried to create language that created some benefit for newly hired folks, so they could have some time off without having to work here 3 or 4 years before they qualify for anything. And we moved in that direction, but then in practice, we found that we needed to improve the language because the employees were still getting kind of, they were getting the short end of the stick depending on when you were hired. So we tried to improve that language, and that has to do with trying to improve our recruitment abilities. There are some other, I'll call them minor ministerial changes in the agreement that I don't need to go over now. One thing I will mention, funeral leave might be referred to as bereavement leave in the existing contract. That was fairly complicated, I thought. We've been making exceptions to it through memorandums of understanding in several situations. The way it currently is if a certain type of relative passes away and they're in state, you get 3 days. If they're out of state, you might get 5, 'cause you got to travel. And then, in this, particularly as the baby boom generation has gotten older, there's a lot of time spent by folks with their loved ones before they've actually passed, hospice care, that kind of thing. And so we're trying to just make that easier, make it, why do we care if you got to travel in or out of state for a funeral? Your mother, your father, sibling. If you need 5 days, take 5 days. That type of thing. I have signed and initiated memorandums of understanding where people gave up their bereavement leave so they could use it while their loved one was in hospice in their final days. Why wouldn't I do that? Those are the big ones. You have all these tentative agreements in your packet. They are the red line version, strike through red line. If approved, or whenever something does get approved, all of these changes would be then made part of the main document, the big document. As I said in the memo, we have 2 agreements, one request for board action, but at the bottom there are 2 separate resolution languages that you should use for each respective agreement. And you find that on page 75 of your agenda packet. One unit's non-supervisory, another unit's non-supervisory, as was the case 3 years ago. I would recommend that Clerk Cody recuse herself from voting on the supervisory unit because of the financial connection. But with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. I will also add, while you're thinking of your questions, that there were a couple tense moments throughout the process, which is actually, I think, good to see. But I would like to thank the bargaining group for the non-supervisory, Amy Peak and Matt Rabish. They were the negotiators for the non-supervisory unit. Sean McBride, Mike Deering for the supervisory unit. Kim Smith, Rodney Nanny supported me in those negotiations. So while they were tense at times, and they were all everybody's conduct was professional, courteous, and I applaud their participation. Thank you.
Just a thought question. Juneteenth was added as a holiday, which currently is a federal holiday,
Correct.
and we follow the federal holiday schedule. Probably we're probably closed on
Not 100%.
not 100%. Okay. I love the flexibility about bereavement. I mean, from a humanistic standpoint and a get along at work standpoint and good attitude standpoint at work, certainly it makes a lot of sense to me.
I move to consider approval of various tentative agreements to changes in the collective bargaining agreement between the township and the non-supervisory unit bargaining group and the supervisory unit bargaining group respectively.
If we could do
Yeah.
those just one at a time, please.
Oh, sorry. Okay. First, for the non-supervisory bargaining group.
Support.
Motion by Rogers, support by Cody. Other discussion?
I can vote in this one.
This is the one you can, or should?
That I can, that's
You
why I
can.
seconded it.
Okay, I guess that makes sense. I just want to thank all that were involved in the discussions. We've placed this responsibility on our manager to conduct those negotiations on behalf of the board. We just, again, state it for the public. We gave the manager some parameters to work within. So I'm certainly supportive of the responsibility that we gave to our manager to take care of. Anybody else on anything? Seeing none, anybody not clear on the motion? Clerk Cody, would you do a roll call, please?
Supervisor Monkey?
Yes.
Clerk Cody, yes. Treasurer Rogers?
Yes.
Trustee Lannan?
Yes.
Trustee Lay?
Yes.
Trustee Therian?
Yes.
All yeses.
Let the record show it was unanimous.
I move to consider the approval of the various tentative agreements to changes in the collective bargaining agreement between the township and the supervisory unit bargaining group.
Just take out the consider.
What?
Support.
Minus the consider.
Support.
Oh, consider, yes.
Just motion to.
You just want to move
You
to
wanna
approve.
Prove it, not-
Oh, move to approve.
Sorry.
You okay with that?
Yes.
language
Yes.
change?
Move to
So
approve.
motion by Rogers, support by Therian.
This one
It's
I'm-
been, do you want to recuse yourself?
Yeah.
Might I suggest that you take a seat over there?
Write everything down.
You
Can I
can
say-
write it over
Can I
there.
do roll call? Do you want me to say it?
All right,
I
stay-
did it last time.
Just
but
stay
I
out
mean,
of,
either
just
way.
stay out of discussion too. No, you can stay here, just stay out of discussion.
Oh, I
It's-
won't say anything.
Putting you over there is a good way to, you not to want to talk during it, that's all.
I'll be right back.
Anybody have objections to our clerk abstaining?
No.
Okay. Just a note, along those lines, I've thought we haven't had to have recusals yet with this board, but if we do have them, I would recommend that whoever's recused take a seat out there, so that they're not inclined to want to jump in, or be
That makes
seen
sense.
as being, influencing the discussion. Discussion?
Although it may have been tense at times, I'm assuming that all folks were standing by the end of negotiations still.
Yes.
Perfect.
All right, if nobody's wanting to talk and everybody understands the motion, I'll do a roll call. Trustee Lannan?
Yes.
Trustee Therian?
Yes.
Trustee Lay?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Treasurer Rogers?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Moving on. Is she coming back?
She's just left.
We'll go ahead and continue to move. That brings us to item E on our new business, Policy Governance 2.4, Financial Planning and Budgeting. Mr. Stuhldreher, this one is yours if you're willing to introduce it.
Thank you. And on page 115 of your agenda packet, December is the time for the board to review the administration's compliance with Governance Policy 2.4, Financial Planning and Budgeting. This is an annual review to be held in December. The very top line wording of the policy, financial planning for any fiscal year or the remaining part of any fiscal year shall not deviate materially from board's ends priorities, risk fiscal jeopardy, or fail to be derived from a multi-year plan. There are 4 or 5, 6, depending on how you count, sections to that policy. I'm not going to go over all that go over all of those. I interpret this policy to indicate that the Board of Trustees is wanting to ensure that the financial stability, and in so doing, requiring that the township manager not fail to include reasonable revenue and expenditure estimates when presenting recommended budgets to the board, that we are monitoring and amending the budgets as needed and as appropriate. That, and it was mentioned earlier tonight, that we do not budget more than, on the expense side, more than what we reasonably expect to receive on the revenue side, although we are, and it's specified in the policy, a little more detail, allowed to use fund balance to balance that budget, and that we should have a multi-year focus when we're considering our annual budget. And we're doing some of that, and I'll get into that in the data. So that's how I interpret this policy. I believe that's reasonable. We do fairly conservative budgeting. We do keep an eye on the long-term impacts of our decisions. We have fund balance policies and actual fund balances that we designed so that we have some flexibility in our operations, so we can take advantage of opportunities when they present themselves. And there's another component that I think is relevant. The governance policy specifically states that a trained and educated board of trustees costs less than poor governance, and that's really an accurate statement, and this board avails itself of all those opportunities. So I believe it's that I have a reasonable interpretation of this policy. The current budget, in terms of data, current budget proposed in 2026 was developed, approved, and we will monitor. It was based on conservative assumptions, as you heard earlier. All the state's requirements, all the statutes were adhered to. We present monthly cash flow data, is part of our governance policy requirements. We do that quarterly, and as you recall, we amended the 25 budget a few times as needed. You heard the audit presentation in May of 2025 as it related to the 2024 audited financial statements that received a clean audit. And we do include long-term projections in our budget book for the fire fund, the general fund, the east and west DDA funds, and in addition to multi-year forecasting, we have in the budget book some capital improvement program and planning going on. There's a worksheet for that. We need to improve that, and that's been indicated as a priority of the board. And you heard the acting finance director speak to that. We've begun to try to develop that. I do note that it is an area that needs improvement, but I think by the end of this year, you're going to see a much more robust attempt at doing some of that capital improvement planning and even trying to find some funding sources. So based on that, I would suggest that we are in, the administration is in compliance with the policy. Be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? All right, we'll see none. Report was due this month, and we took it up this month, and it was presented this month. Any issues with the interpretation?
No.
No.
Because that's key to how our manager views our policy, right? Any issue with it? Do you believe it's justified, reasonable? Right? It's not missing anything,
Right.
but it
Correct.
also, yep. Do you feel that the data shows that we are in compliance?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Outside of the data, do you feel like we're in compliance?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. And just as you read through the policy, any issues that you feel are missing in the policy that we should be looking at? Any modifications, something that shouldn't be there? This is a straightforward
It's pretty thorough.
portion of our
Yeah.
policy. I'll just comment that this is one area that I have great faith in the administration taking care of. The track record is good. We good then?
Yep.
Yes.
All right,
Great.
this is more moving to section 3 of our policy governance, global governance process. Give me my paperwork, it's getting a little messy here. So I'm just gonna read, this is top level board policy 3.0. It's very high level, very brief, so I'm gonna read it for the public. The purpose of the board on behalf of the residents of Charter Township of Union is to see to it that Union Township A achieves appropriate results for appropriate persons at an appropriate cost, and B avoids unacceptable actions and situations. It's clear, it's concise, it's high level. It's a vision for the township in many ways. Doesn't, that we do everything within certain means. Anybody feel that we are not in compliance?
No.
Anything we need to improve on regarding this?
No.
My only comment is, if we had improvements, it's gonna be dealt more in the details of
Right.
section 3. This is the high-level interpretation. So any changes recommended to the language that we have?
No. It's
No.
pretty.
So we're all good?
Yep.
All right, moving on.
To G.
To G, fire agreement. Since it was part of our consent agenda, Trustee Landon, I'll just give you the floor because you wanted to highlight something.
I just thought for our citizens who support this fund, as we learned a little bit about funds, this is not a general fund item. This is a specific fund item that a millage is voted on and passed by the citizens. And with our most recent surveys of citizen approval with fire services as provided to them through contract with the city for the township, has gotten high ratings. And because of the large expenditure that's associated with this contract, and the fact that we've expanded from a 1-year contract to a 3-year contract with this potential approval. I just thought it was worthy to bring forward to the citizens and let them have this brought in front of them if they have interest. And I think having a longer term contract, or it's a 5-year contract actually,
5, yeah.
with potential for 5-year extension. And the value of it is significant as far as township expenditures go. So I just didn't want to just bury it in the consent agenda, but bring it forward for the public to be aware.
Okay.
Motion to approve the renewal of the fire protection agreement with the city of Mount Pleasant.
Support.
Motion by Cody, support by Rogers. Yeah, I'll just piggyback on what you said, Trustee Lannon, that I like that it's a 5-year. Don't have to think about it for a little while. I can't remember the date now. It does indicate the anticipated date of the next fire truck purchase.
33.
33, okay, that's what my memory had, but I wasn't sure of that. But, you know, we've planned for that and are saving for that, so. Yes, absolutely.
And since we are in some discussion, if you'd allow me to just to point out a couple things. I think it's been the last 2 years that we've done annual contracts, and that was because the city was going through an internal fire service delivery study. Prior to that, we did have some 5-year contracts in place. This is supported with a millage. I believe it's the next millage is set for 2028. There'll be another vote, which is not that too far into the future. And when the recommended budget and the finally adopted budget was presented to you, there was a 5-year or a 10-year forecast for the fire fund. We have updated that to include the provisions of this agreement. It's in your agenda packet, and you can compare that to what you had before. And so this contract, based on these assumptions, the primary one being that it's approved again by the voters. There's clearly enough funding to support this, and by the truck. It's demonstrated on in your agenda packet. Thank you.
Motion on the floor. Any other comments? All in favor of approving the renewal of the fire protection agreement with the city of Mount Pleasant, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. That brings us to extended public comment. Extended public comment is restricted to 5 minutes regarding any issue. If you choose to address the public, please state your name and address for the record. And with that, we will open up extended public comment at 9:23 p.m.
I'll try not to keep it too extended. I appreciate it. A little time here. I'll just introduce myself. Hi, my name is John Desmond Hayes. I think some of you know me from boards around town, but I applied for the trustee position that was open. I wanted to just come in tonight because we were a little unsure about whether it be an interview or other things coming up and how kind of the process would be handled. So I just wanted to show up tonight and introduce myself to you guys. I guess in the scheduling area, I'll get to that. I do have a slight conflict next Wednesday for another board of mine for the theater downtown.
If I may, January 6th
Oh, January
and
7th.
7th.
Yeah,
were the
January
days
7th.
we
I
were looking
apologize.
at.
January 7th, first Wednesday of the month, I'm at the theater downtown doing a meeting there. So I guess I'll push for a Tuesday if that works for your board. But otherwise, I guess I would say I don't have too much to say. I'll save that for the interview process when you guys come back next week. But if you guys had any questions, I guess, for me in the now related to my application or anything that came in that you wanted to get cleared up before, I see you guys again on the 6th and 7th.
You're pretty thorough.
I'm pretty thorough?
You were.
Oh, okay, good. That's good to clear.
I'll just say thanks for coming and attending, and thanks for applying, and thank you for service on Planning Commission.
Yeah, I enjoy working with the boards for this township. I do a lot of boards. I work with different community organizations, government organizations, but I'll say the staff, people in here that are presenting these packets that we're getting every week, the people that are explaining what we're dealing with every week and how this township runs, it makes it a very easy place to work with and work for. And I look forward to an opportunity to do more. All right, thank you guys very
Thank you.
much.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night, avoid the rights.
Yes.
So that takes us to manager comments, item 13 on the agenda, Mr. Stuhldreher.
Oh, wait.
Oh.
To close it.
Oh, yeah, thank you. No one's connected remotely, correct? Seeing no one else coming forward in person, no one connected remotely, we will close extended public comment at 9:25 p.m. Thank you for that.
So I do have one, I guess, request. 2 years ago, we conducted employee-wide, organizational-wide CPR, AED training, and that was done in the spring of '24. Those certifications last for 2 years. We want to hold another one in January of '26. We're trying to schedule that for January 21st from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And in order to do that efficiently, I would ask for permission to close Township Hall between those hours so that everybody can attend.
That makes sense.
Support.
Yeah.
Support.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. And then with that, I just want to wish everybody Merry Christmas. Hope you all have a nice, safe holiday, and enjoy.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 14, final board member comment, Trustee Therian.
Everyone have a good holiday.
Yep.
Happy holidays.
Trustee Landon?
Well, we have a year underneath our belts as a board together, and really have enjoyed it, and look forward to next year. And you all have a very safe holiday break.
Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas and drive safe.
Merry Christmas. I have on my, just a reminder, I have on my list, I'll be reaching out to the 2 applicants. If you don't mind staying just for a few minutes, I'll talk to you afterwards. Save us a phone call. Okay, and then I'll reach out to Mr. Ulver and see what works, and as soon as I know that, we'll finalize the meeting so we can get that posted. Right? And just for my clarification, what I heard from all of you is we're going to come, allow them to introduce themselves. Any of us can ask whatever questions you might want to ask, correct? So prepare yourselves and kind of things that you want to ask, right?
Yep. Okay.
Fairly free form, is what I'm hearing? Okay. With that, our business is completed. We'll adjourn at 9:27 p.m.
See you guys next
Thank you,
year.
everybody.